Howdy and welcome back to the shop. I've been working on the little S10 dune buggy project, and the other day the helper boy found some holes in the frame. He was knocking rust off with the air chipper and blowed through down here on the bottom, and then we blowed through everywhere. And what has happened here is this is inside, this would be the inside of that frame rail. And here's where your fuel tank sits. And I believe the dust and the dirt and everything has trickled inside of here from on top of the fuel tank. And you can just barely make out in the camera. But you can see the exact line where all of that crud sat in there for all of those years and just ate her up. Now, we are not in the rustiest rust belt that ever rusted. There we go. But we are in the cow crap belt, and we are in the dirt road belt. So what I believe has happened here is, in the process of going up and down the road and picking up dust, the dust got in here, and it just sat in there, drawed moisture, and the moisture rusted it in too. So we'll kind of go over how I fixed all of this mess. All right, so to start with, from the bottom side here, I tacked on some little pieces of metal, and that gave me a frame of reference. And then I did a little cardboard aided drafting. And my cardboard aided drafting, I just scribed out a small template and scribed that, or traced that back on some pieces of steel, and then started whittling on my steel until I got a box made that was a pretty good approximation of what was there to start with. Well, after I got that done, I measured up over here 32 inches, which is just a convenient number, and put a center punch mark. And I measured up over here 30 inches, which was just a convenient number, made another center punch mark. And that's just for reference, so that when I was all done, I knew that nothing really twisted or bowed. Now, before I started cutting on all of this, the first thing I did was cut out the pocket right here for the cab mount. And I replaced that because that dish is in here. So I cut that out and made a straight run right through here and patched that in. Then I welded on a piece of that's backward. Just welded on a piece of pipe, or a piece of square tubing, 3 points of contact to hold everything from sagging, twisting, warping. That way it all stayed as I was doing all of these steps to get this welded in. Now, after I got everything measured, marked, braced, I came in here and cut all of this out, ground it out, got it clean as I could get it, air chiseled it, air hammered it, air everything, cleaned it up, and then I went inside of here. But I went inside of all of these long welds here with a piece of 3/4 inch wide, 1/8 inch flat, and I tacked it in there. Now my weld gap in here is it's between a 1/16 and an 1/8. It's greater than a 1/16, less than an 1/8. So I've got 100% penetration in my patch piece, my original piece, and then I've got an 1/8 inch scab or backer up inside of all of this, all the way around through all of this. And that's fairly important because you want 100% penetration when you're welding something like this. Surely want 100% penetration. Now, down on the bottom, what I'm going to do, and I haven't done this part yet, is I've got some of this 2.5 inch by 1/8 flat stock, and I'm going to weld it diagonally, weld a diamond on there, and I'll get her welded up along through here and along through here and up here and up here. And then I'll hammer the sides over so that they roll over the edges, and then I'll finish my welds up. And what that does is it moves the stress riser away from your weld, and it reinforces your weld. And I'll do that at the start and the stop, back here or up here, like so. And then I don't know if I'm going to have room underneath of the spring hanger, but if I do, I'll put one there too. The spring hanger will scab this weld just fine. Some of these welds, like right here, this is actually a no-no. You do not want to have a weld like this when you're patching in a frame or any bearing member that's under a moment like this. Now, it does help that we're not going all the way to the top. We're stopping right here. You certainly would not want to run all the way to the top on this, because that would put a stress riser right there. So just to help that out, I am going to put a scab right there at a diagonal across that weld in 2 directions. And that will take all of that stress riser and move it on. I'll probably have to put this scab just like this here. Don't really know. There is, like I said, there is already a scab underneath of this, and I welded this vertical up. This is 100% penetration weld, and this is all 100% penetration weld. Now, when I did all of this, after I was done welding on it, you might be able to make it out. I ran over all of my welds with the needle scaler and just beat the living thunder out of them with the needle scaler. And that wasn't for any scale reasons, but that does do some stress relieving to the weld. And when I was done, I measured my marks after I took my bracing off, and everything is back within a 32nd of where it started. So nothing pulled, nothing twisted, nothing bowed, nothing got goofy on me. So I was blessed to learn that. Another thing is right here, from here to here, is where this body mount, it's got a sunk in place here in the frame, a little hollowed out spot here in the frame. So, that was my first step, was to take and patch that, cut that body mount completely off and patch that in to where that was just gone. I don't need that hollowed out spot in the frame. I need it to be flat there when I weld on my stand for my regular motor mount or my body mount. So that patch on this side runs from here to here. Now, you'll see this is not a good weld, but there is a weld that goes past where that patch starts and stops. And that weld scabs this so that it takes all my stress risers and moves them somewhere else. Now, I haven't ground on any of this yet. I wanted to show you just how ugly my welds are. It's like our favorite Canadian profanity coach says, a grinder and a paint makes me the welder I ain't. So these will be ground down a little bit, and they will be painted after I'm all done. But in the meanwhile, I guess that's about all I got to say about that. If y'all got questions, ask them down in the comments. So in the meanwhile, if you guys got any questions, ask them down in the comments. Can't think of nothing else to say about this. So this is Mrs. Fixer of Broken Stuff. So
y'all be safe and watch for deer.
She's going to be my cameraman every now and then. The other cameraman's taking a nap.